Let's keep going with things that Greeks who are separated from each other by vast distances, who would not even call themselves Greeks, but would call themselves whatever their city is, so Athenian or Spartan or Theban or Thesbian or something like that. Another thing that links them is the type of environment in which they live. And I'm not talking about Greece's larger environment, but what I'm talking about is the cities they inhabit. The name for Greek cities or city-states is singular polis. If there's two or more of them, it's poleis. And in some ways, what a polis is the physical structure of the city, but that's the really simple definition. And a more involved and a better definition is that it's everything that goes on there too. It's how politics play out in the city. It's the community of citizens that inhabit it. It's all the economic, cultural, social, religious activity that goes on there. So what are poleis? They're small independent cities that are basically male-dominant. Membership to the polis is hereditary, and it can't be passed to people from the outside. So that means that citizens, people who participate in the government here, are an elite group of people. It doesn't include women, it doesn't include slaves, it doesn't include peasants from the outside, it doesn't include people who aren't originally from there. The polis itself was originally, kind of like we saw in Mycenaean civilization, a defensible area that farmers could kind of go back to and withstand attacks. A great example is what I have pictured here, the Acropolis or Acropolis in Athens. If you think about that word, acro means in the air, up high, like acrobats. So the Acropolis is the place where you can defend yourself, way up high. Over time, these towns grow from just a defensive citadel to something that surrounds it. And they aren't really well planned because they aren't organized that way. They grow over time. So unlike, say, Harappan civilization that's really well organized, you don't get that here. It's very meandering, and the geography makes it meander even more. Over time, you get some other key features that develop. Things like agoras, marketplaces. But they're way more than where you go to just buy food. They're also the social heart of this. It's a place where people would interact. It's like going to Franklin Hall at Ferrum College, the student union, where you're not only going to do something, but you're going to run into other folks, you're going to gossip, you're going to have conversation, and it becomes kind of the social hub of the poleis. They get other physical elements too. Temples and altars to patron deities. So Athens has a temple to Athena, for example. They have theaters where they present some of the world's most amazing plays, and some of those theaters still exist. The acoustics in them are amazing. You can stand in the center of a theater that can hold thousands of people, and the way they're engineered, you can hear the person in the middle talking from the nosebleed seats. Probably my favorite element are the gymnasia. And if any of you are ag science students, you might recognize the prefix gymno. Gymno relates to not having anything covering it. So like gymnosperms are seeds that don't have a shell. Gymnasia are where people go and they don't cover themselves. So a gymnasium is a place where you go to work out in the nude. Why do they do it? We already covered that, right? Because physically perfect bodies are representation of gods. But you don't just work out there. You also train your entire body and mind. And so, for example, if you know anything about the German educational system, their secondary schools, their high schools are called gymnasium, place where you go to get educated. For the most part, these poleis are really small. Aristotle, one of the most important philosophers, when he discusses the poleis, talks about them needing to be small enough so that you know everybody in them. Right? Like Ferrum size is ideal, or for him, nothing more than about 5,000 people, which is weird because Athens gets to be 250,000. The important thing for Greeks is for a polis to be functional, you got to know everybody's business. It's this intimate connection between people. You see folks at the marketplace, you work out with them, you know who does what. And because of that, you know whether they're going to be good politicians, good people. That is the basis of the type of government that they develop, a democracy that isn't a full democracy, but a democracy where citizens have participation in government and where they're required to hold government offices. So second to last of the kind of uniting features we're going to talk about, the polis.